Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Shasta County Board of Supervisors for Tuesday, March 26, 2013. The invocation this morning will be given by a very good friend of Shasta County, Pastor Don Mangrum, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Supervisor Chappelle. Will you please join us by standing? Pastor, good morning.
Release. I don't want to forget you. So thankful, really, if you folks could give me 5 minutes and I'll shut up. Supervisor Baugh has been working on me keeping my prayers short, and I will compensate for that. And Supervisor Modi, you're still wearing those shoes very well. Very proud of you. But you're doing a proclamation shortly that will welcome home Vietnam veterans. And if you don't know that, Shasta County, back when we had 60,000 population probably, we lost 44 young men in Vietnam. And you hear the stories. And the Vietnam veteran is much like a supervisor for a county. You do well, and you still get maligned, and you don't know why. But there are 44 fellows who couldn't be here this morning that would have loved to have been here. And if you don't mind, I'd like to tell you just a story of a couple of them, and then I'll do a short prayer, and I'm out of here. I want to talk to you about a young man, Enterprise High School football hero, Shasta College, and got his draft notice, and he was going to Vietnam. And his last day in his hometown, he sat on the river on a blanket with a girl that he was engaged to, a very beautiful girl, lovely person. I'm in contact with her today. Their last day together spent on that blanket looking at the river and the ducks and talking about plans and future hopes and dreams and marriage perhaps when he came back. And his name was Melroy Ballard. Melroy Ballard. And he was a close friend, I think, of former Supervisor Glenn Hawes. But I'd like to read you the citation. This is just one of your young men from Shasta County that you may hear some negative things about, Vietnam veterans, but this is Melroy Ballard. It's by order of the President of the United States. On April 1968, Company C was conducting a reconnaissance in force operation through dense jungle vegetation at Bien Hoa province when it came under violent small arms and heavy vegetation all around by a well-entrenched camouflaged enemy force. Demonstrating a calm attitude and decisive leadership, Sergeant Mel Ballard reorganized his squad. He maneuvered them on line and directed their return fire. As the company assaulted the entrenched enemy, it encountered a devastating amount of automatic weapons fire, claymore mines, rocket fire from the hostile positions, which seriously wounded Sergeant Ballard. Mel was wounded seriously, and other members of the unit. And Mel was ordered to withdraw so that an artillery barrage by the U.S. Could be called in on the hostile positions. Well, Sergeant Ballard, typical Shasta County country boy, said, "No, I'm not going to evacuate. We've got my wounded men out there in the jungle, and I'm going to stay and get them." And that he did. In an inspiring display of courage, determination, Sergeant Ballard disregarded his own painful wounds, and he moved unhesitatingly through the dense vegetation, through the enemy fire, and through the American supporting artillery fire for more than 3 hours, carrying the wounded to safety. When supporting artillery fire was lifted, Sergeant Ballard persisted in his valiant efforts to remove all those wounded from the battle area. As he moved from an exploding enemy rocket to another, he was cut down and mortally wounded by fragments from an exploding enemy artillery round or a rocket. They don't know. Mel Ballard saved the lives of 6 men and enabled the company to destroy the enemy force. Sergeant Ballard's heroic actions were in keeping with the highest traditions of the military service and reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, and the United States Army. Home of record, Shasta County. Mel received the second highest medal for heroism, the Distinguished Service Cross. There was another couple of young men that I would like to talk about. We have quite a few Native American young men in our community, and one of them was a very handsome young man, Curtis Jackson. He was a Navy medic, and Curtis was struck down while rescuing fallen Marines, and he was decorated for that. Some of us here had a good friend named Dennis Stevens. I remember my wife thought Denny was a real cutie, but I was a little jealous. And he was like the second best wrestler in the state for his weight division. I also liked him because he was about 5 feet tall. Made me feel tall. But Denny Stevens was just a wonderful, wonderful young man. And Denny was a squad leader, he was a corporal. And he got orders to clear a little hillside area that they'd had trouble with. And as he led his squad up the hill, heavy machine guns opened up on him, wounding some of his men. And Dennis, single-handedly, they couldn't get help for the men. They couldn't treat them for their wounds. And so Dennis, Audie Murphy style, assaulted the machine gun bunker with automatic weapons and rocket-propelled grenades, destroyed it. And as he was running back down the ravine to assist in the treatment of his wounded, he was hit by a sniper, and he was killed. Home of record, Shasta County. Young man came to my office, or our office, some years back, and he had been adopted and was looking for his father. And his father was Dennis Stevens, and I had to tell him that his father was killed, but he was a decorated hero. Some of you may know Maurice Whitmer. I'll end with Maurice. Oliver North was on the History Channel, doing battles of Vietnam. And I called my wife quickly, and Claire, come look. Do you know who that is? She looked for a while. It was a story of a corporal in the Marine Corps fighting the Battle of Hue. And there was a thing called a North Tower. Hue was like a fort, a citadel. And there was a large tower, and the enemy were up in the tower. And they were calling in artillery barrages on American soldiers, and devastating effect. And they had to take it out. They couldn't get men anywhere near it except for Maurice Whitmer and his squad. And he got orders, take it. Very hard. And Maurice said, can do. And he got his men up and charged. And of course they were beaten back. And Maurice was wounded. And they got behind a wall and still taking heavy fire. Got another radio call. Can you move? Yes, sir, we can move. It's got to be taken. We're taking fire from it. A second time, Maurice and everybody was wounded probably. I think they lost one man. And they charged. And they charged again. And even though he was wounded again, Maurice Whitmer led his men to victory. And they took that North Tower, saving many lives. Home of record. My wife looked at the television show and said, that's our mailman. Maurice Whitmer, Shasta County Vietnam veterans. And we're so thankful for them. I'm thankful for the board. Past several board have been very responsive. Mr. Lease, y'all have made this one of the finest counties for veterans. We have signs coming into the county where veterans are honored, veterans are remembered. We have cemetery, we have veterans home. We have one of the finest veteran service offices. This state, there's nothing that outdoes what this board has provided for veterans. For that this morning we thank you. And with that, if you'd bow your heads. Father, we just thank you for this day. Father, we thank you for this board. And we ask that you would move upon them today. So many decisions that affect so many of the constituents and their friends and neighbors. Father, we ask that you would just bless them, that you would lead them and guide them in every aspect of their judgments today. in every way. God, we just ask you would touch each county supervisor this day. Be with them and let them feel your presence. Father, we just ask again, your word in Isaiah says, and he shall judge the nations, many nations, and shall rebuke many people. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn of war anymore. And this morning, that's our peace. And it really is, it's just what we're looking for today, is a time when we have no war. And our young men and young ladies, we don't have to read stories like Mel Ballard's. Never again. But Father, we ask these things in your precious name. All God's people said, amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Magrum. Thank you, Supervisor Chappelle. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to deviate from the public's agenda, and I think in the interest of continuity, this is appropriate. I'd like to move under the regular calendar to item R1, Board Matters. Consider adopting a proclamation which designates March 30th as Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day in Shasta County. I've invited Supervisor Baugh to make this presentation. Supervisor Baugh.
Thank you, Chair Kehoe and Pastor Mangum. Thank you very much for personalizing this day and this proclamation. Shasta County Board of Supervisors proclamation. Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day, March 30, 2013. Whereas members of the United States Armed Forces began serving in an advisory role in South Vietnam in 1961. And whereas as a result of the Gulf of Tonkin incidents on October 2nd and August 4, 1964, the United States Congress overwhelmingly passed the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution. Whereas in 1965 there were 80,000 United States troops in Vietnam, and by 1969 a peak of approximately 543,000 troops was reached. And this is the number that Pastor Mangum referred to earlier, and it is significant. Whereas more than 58,000 members of the United States Armed Forces lost their lives in Vietnam, of which 44 were Shasta County residents. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Shasta County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims March 30, 2013 as Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans Day in Shasta County, urging all citizens to honor the sacrifices made by our Vietnam veterans and pay special homage to the men and women who gave their lives defending freedom and preserving our way of life. Now, therefore, be it further resolved that this year's proclamation is presented to the Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 357. This is signed this day, David A. Kehoe, Chairman of the Shasta County Board of Supervisors, and it is an honor to move approval.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Further discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And I know there are several to receive this proclamation. If you want to move down there, maybe share a few words. We'll make it official and present the signed copy.
Thank you. As you can see, we have a diverse group of veterans here. We even have our dog mascot there. And being diverse, as you see, there's a couple of women here. We have a
Just or no?
yeah. Well, I can still talk. But we have within our group we have a associate, and if you look around in the streets, you see this ribbon that's on our hat. You see it on a lot of trucks. There's a lot of Vietnam veterans out here, and that's how you recognize a Vietnam veteran. So we want to thank Bob Dunlap for helping us get this proclamation. Also, I didn't know that my brother in Christ and fellow Vietnam veteran Don Mangum was going to be here, but we also want to recognize all the Vietnam veterans that are here today. Certainly, this is our 4th year, and also I'm pretty sure it's our 4th proclamation from the Board of Supervisors for this proclamation. So we thank you very much.
Well, it is my pleasure on behalf of the Board of Supervisors to make this presentation official. If we could, as a nation, reverse the travesties, the injustices that you felt when you came home from Vietnam, we would. And this is one of the ways that we can, and we do. And we tell you from the bottom of our hearts that we love you, appreciate you, and we honor you this day. It is a pleasure to know you, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let's show a final appreciation. Thank you, Supervisor Blah. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now return to the public comment period, open time. Each speaker is allocated 3 minutes to speak. Comments should be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the board pursuant to the Brown Act. Action or board discussion cannot be taken on open time matters, other than to receive the comments and, if deemed necessary, to refer the subject matter to the appropriate department for follow-up and or to schedule the matter on a subsequent board agenda. We have several speakers this morning. Our first speaker is Ms. Denise Radcliffe, followed by Mr. Paxton. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, City Council. My name is Denise, and I'm here on behalf of Shasta County's local chapter of California Youth Connections. It's a nonprofit organization. It's youth-run, and what we do is we work on the community, county, and statewide level to better the foster care system. I just wanted to refer you guys to the flyer that I had for everyone. I don't know if you guys got them handed out, but there's 10 flyers for you guys. We're going to be having a community dinner this April. There's the one. Thank you. This April 14th, we're going to be having a community dinner to raise awareness about foster care in Shasta County. We have the highest foster care per capita, and we're really trying to get our local chapter to be more involved with the systems and making sure everything is going well. We want to start a teen center or work with another organization in starting a teen center, and we ask the council's support in doing this dinner. And if any of you guys can attend, or if you would like to get a hold of anyone, you can get a hold of Marlo Felix, and we have a website also you can refer to, but Marlo's number is 566-2461. And I thank you for your time and consideration in supporting this. It means a lot to the youth that are involved in the organization, as well as the youth who lives we impact on the daily. So
Good.
thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Appreciate it. Mr. Paxton, followed by Mrs. Angel. Good morning, sir.
Hello. I'd like to introduce myself as the new chairman of the Integrity Project. We'd like to agendize some discussion on how we could provide a group that could review some of the issues with the ordinances and different ordinances, whether and how they're to be implemented or how they're being presently enforced. I'd like to give you an example of one, Ordinance 665, an adoption of an ordinance for public facility fees for new development. And when you review that document, you get into definitions. It talks about a development permit. And it's defined as a building permit for construction or reconstruction. So understand, if we have a grandfather building that burns down in Shasta County, county building, state building, they have to pay development fees the way this is written. The development fees start at $2.70 a square foot. It doesn't define whether that building is occupied, that structure is occupied, whether it's a storage facility. It only defines it as industrial, commercial, or office. Example, Jen Powers. She put up a nearly 3,000 square foot barn for the vet facility. Definitely a commercial structure to house the horses to be operated on, and decided to add a shade structure over the corrals due to the Reading heat. She paid over $3,000 traffic impact fees for a shade cover. That's just for the development fees. That's not for the building permit. The building permit was only like $1,100. I provided in writing to the manager of resource management to look that over and see if he could come to some consideration how that might not apply in this case, because there's no traffic impact for shading horses. He indicated that we had to pay $1,100 appeals fee, and we had to hold up the building permit for 60 days. That's not a fair implementation of what this ordinance is about. First of all, and the reconstruction is not being enforced, but the language is still in there. It can be enforced on anybody. Another example, somebody brought to my attention about a vacation rental. There's hundreds of vacation rentals in Shasta County. They are not defined in the code, planning code or building code. Okay? When I went to talk to staff about it, they had a complaint about a vacation rental in Viola. Planning staff's interpretation was, if it's not in the planning code, it's prohibited. In zoning, it talks about, on residential, talks about a single family dwelling, agriculture uses, you can have 1 horse per half acre, minimum 1 horse per acre. It doesn't talk about rentals. So are the rentals prohibited? Rentals of any kind. These are just some examples of what we need to take a look at, okay? And so could we please agendize something to try to have some input about that?
Thank you, Mr. Paxton. Appreciate your comments. Our next speaker is Mrs. Angel, followed by Dick, F-Y-T-E-N. Frighten?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I hope you're doing well today. It's a beautiful day, even though it rained yesterday and it's going to rain tonight. We always bring the sunshine wherever we go, the Integrity Project.
Do you now?
I just want to thank you, Larry Lees, for your support of change, and glad to see Rick Simon is taking the lead. I wanted to also say that our numbers are growing, and I'd like for members supporting the Integrity Project in the audience to stand. And these folks came out today to let you know that they are looking forward to a change. This board has an opportunity now you're not part of the old guard, to change the way you do business. With the Riberge and Selmo case, you might look at a settlement. There's still time to do that before there is no turn. But I just wanted to tell you that we look forward to working with you and coming up with common sense solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Angel. How do you pronounce that? Dick Feichen. Mr. Feichen, followed by, looks like John, S-T-A-D-I-L-L-E. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Chairman and supervisors, staff, and citizens. My name is Dick Fighton. I'm a resident of Shasta County. And a couple days ago, I sent out a email to the Board of Supervisors and Glenda Tracy, and I'll read it right now. Good morning, County Supervisors. For too long, taxpayer money has been used on attorneys to fight lawsuits against the residents and business people in Shasta County. What's worse is that only the people winning at these are the attorneys being paid to do all the fighting. There must be some way to settle differences without going to lawsuits. If it is necessary to go to court, why is it that the county attorneys cannot handle our lawsuits and not have to hire outside law firms at very expensive rates to do the work that they were hired to do? Many people are trying to start a business or expand their business in this county who are not financially well off and have spent so much money on lawsuits as to having their lives ruined or the financial toll on the county's lawsuits. It's just crazy. Starting and running a business is hard enough without the county fighting you every step of the way. We need someone who cares about the people of Shasta County. It is your job to select and hire these people for Shasta County. That's your job. And that will support new businesses and be friend of the county's businesses. I was in the construction business and done work in many big cities: Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota, St. Louis, Missouri, Dayton, Ohio. This county is insane in what is required to build a building or navigate the permit process. There's no longer any trust of our county employees and the supervisors. The community needs to step in and begin to change things. The supervisors need to step in and change the things now. You all receive full-time pay for part-time work. Why don't you take the half a day you use for whatever you do personally and do the work of the residents of Shasta County? If the shoe fits, wear it, okay? While some of you are new to the supervisor's position, I encourage you not to follow the incumbents in their performance of running this county. Now, Mr. Keogh, thank you for your response.
Welcome, sir.
I did not mention Reverge Anselmo's issue in my email, but you called my attention to that. This is not about Anselmo. This is about all the things going on. Let me give you an example, lawsuit example. The supervisors voted 5-0 to have Churn Creek Bottoms approved for a mall. The citizens finally got it into a vote, and 70% of the people voted against this. Is this taking care of the people? Then we end up with a lawsuit by Caltrans because the county will not provide the information Caltrans wants on that overpass. This is not the way to run a county.
Thank you, Mr. Fighton. Mr. Stadille. Yelly. Followed by Mr. L.E.H. Lehman. Mr. Stadille.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for seeing us again today.
Good to see you again, sir.
Thank you. I am flanked by my kitchen staff again, and I will introduce them first, if I could.
Sure.
This is sous chef Evan Weston, Robert Burrows, Michael Johnson, and Robert Serene. If you didn't know from last time, these are tax-paying citizens of Shasta County. They're also semi-students of mine in the culinary arts at Anselmo Vineyards. Mr. Anselmo has provided an environment for us up there to practice our trade along with being tax-paying citizens again. These kids are with me on the weekends. You know where most kids are at weekends. These guys work really hard with a clear purpose, a clear sense of energy, and they're there on time always. That's kind of one of our creeds, is to be on time. They work with a sense of urgency. And after reading today's agenda, I notice that you all are meeting in a closed session regarding Anselmo Vineyards today, which I can certainly appreciate. I would hope that you would react and act in a sense of urgency on this issue, as it is costing Shasta County $45,000 a month to litigate this, which I find really ridiculous. I am a permanent resident of Shasta County. 4 generations of my family are from here. I was born in this hospital. My grandfather was the superintendent of the water district, and I know for a fact he would be ashamed of this type of behavior. This is not the way he ran the city and the way he got things done. You got down, you got a pick and a shovel, and you dug every piece of plumbing in this county. And I know that can be done here, and I'm not trying to put feet to fire, but I really believe you all could get back in a session this afternoon with a couple pens and piece of paper and settle this issue. If any of you have been up there to see Anselmo Vineyards, you know that it's built impeccably. He has spent a great deal of money with some phenomenal contractors, about 100 different guys working there at every given time, putting in everything as plumb and as straight and as to code as absolutely possible. And he's willing to work with every single one of these people here today to get that open, straight, right, and easy. So it shouldn't really drag out much longer than this, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lehman, followed by Mr. Raposa. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Bob Lehman. I live out in Wooded Acres, down out by the airport. I'm here from the Tea Party members and the supporting of the Integrity Project. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Raposo, followed by Ms. Lucero. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm on top of the world. How are you, sir?
You must get your sunny disposition and your charm and personality from Mr. Modi next to you there.
Actually, I so look forward to your talks.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
One of the things that was brought up this morning was, working together with the county and working together with your public officials, working together with your elected officials. Last night, there was a Tea Party meeting where 385 people got a chance to talk with our Congressman LaMalfa. Our sheriff and our probation officer, head probation officer, chief of police was doing a town hall and helping people in the community at a Methodist church. We've had a situation where Mr. Daly, who is our new assemblyman, has been great in wanting to work with people and wanting to reach out to communities and constituents. Mr. Gaines, the same. Mr. Nielsen, the same. Our city council is beginning to go that way also. Yet when we look at the Board of Supervisors, there seems to be contention. There seems to be lawsuits. There seems to be people daily that have had problems with the permitting process. Why is that? Something else, and I'm a simple man. We have an attorney for the county, yet we've hired outside attorneys to help us with lawsuits. I'm a little befuddled by that also. It's sort of like we're paying people to do jobs and they're really not doing that. So I guess the only way we can rectify this is for us all to work together maybe a little bit better. And I've seen a couple of you at different events this week. It was fun talking with you, and it's nice to see it. And in some of you, we really don't see it anything. Out in the public at different things that are happening, and it's sort of like it's hard to relate to the fact that we have elected officials that basically are disconnected from what the people want. As Mr. Fiden stated, the Turn Creek bottom issue is incredible. I've never heard of anything like that in talking to several of our other elected officials. In a lot of counties, they've never heard of anything like that. Now, I know you go behind closed doors today, and I realize that behind closed doors, things may become a little more aggressive than they would if you were actually speaking in public. I just hope that you all sit down and come to some sort of meeting of the minds to where you understand that you work for the people and you understand that you're an elected official, and also that you understand that we want to be in a position to where we all work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Dolores Lucero, followed by Sherry Beck. Ms. Lucero.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
I guess I'd just like to say, I'm always trying to write down exactly what I want to say, but by the time I get up here, I hear so many people talk about different things, it just throws my whole notes out the door. I just want to say that my concern is what the people are constantly just coming and addressing to the Board of Supervisors. I hope the citizens, take this advice, and the reason I'm trying to speak to you too, because we, the people, have the power to make a change. No matter how many times the citizens continue to come here, year after year, before my time, and you've been elected to represent the people and work for the people and to do what's best for the taxpayers here. These people are the ones who pay in your salary, yet you continue to do what you want, and you're not listening. That's why the people need to know that they have control. They need to stop coming to you. They need to take action. If it was me, if I had the power to do it, I would say get a group to go after the Board of Supervisors. File something to remove them. Get somebody else. Because as you notice, you come here and you ask them, how many lawsuits there have been here in this county? How many times you ask them? You can't continue asking because it's not going to make a difference. They're going to do what they want. And it's very frustrating because I hear these people and all you do is sit there and listen, but you don't take action. You don't do more research. You don't stand up for the people. You don't represent the people. You represent yourselves. You do what's best for you. Every single one of you represent the county, and you're not doing your job. You told people, when you were running, you told these citizens that you were going to do a job, and you're not doing the job. So how much time do the people have to wait for you to keep your word? You haven't kept your word. You basically just told them what they wanted to hear so you could be re-elected and elected. Now it's time to dish out what you promised these people. You can't keep on making promises. The people need to realize you need to take action. You can't wait anymore. The longer we wait, the more deeper we're going to get into this whole mess. And that's what we're doing. We're waiting, hoping they listen. They're not. It's like they're like children. Do they listen after so many times we tell them? They don't. These public officials something needs to be done. They need to be removed or take action. Because the more we come here, it's just a waste of time. And I realize that. But I just hope that Mr. Chappelle, that you don't follow like the Board of Supervisors. I hope you do what's right because you did promise the citizens you would do what's best for them.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Beck, followed by Mr. Darker. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Kehoe and board members, Larry Lees and Mr. Cruz. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you today. I'm just recovering from the bronchitis and asthma that's been going around. There's been comments made about the lawsuits. As many people know, the board cannot respond to their side of the story because they are considered Brown Act issues, and those are discussed in closed sessions. So everybody here that's commenting on these lawsuits really doesn't have the full story. I appreciate the fact that there is a group involved that is concerned about integrity, called the Integrity Project. According to the definition of the dictionary, that's a firm adherence to a code, in other words, moral or artistic values, incorruptibility. I don't think anyone here disagrees with that. However, I feel that more research needs to be done on this particular issue about Mr. Anselmo's lawsuits against the county. Public records show that many thousands of dollars were given by Mr. Anselmo to supervisorial candidates. Yes, I was invited up there. I toured his place. It is beautiful, especially the chapel. When I was offered money from Mr. Anselmo, I said, I'm really sorry. I consider that a conflict of interest because you have lawsuits against the county. And personally, I felt that was not right for me to take that. These thousands of dollars that were given to the supervisorial candidates included Mr. Chappelle. Public records show that once you give more than $5,000 to any candidate or to a ballot measure, you are required by the FPPC to file certain documents. if you will go onto the website for Kathy Darling, you will find that those documents have not been filed by Mr. Anselmo. Is he not aware that he is required by the law to do this? Or is he also aware, perhaps, and not wanting to file these, like not wanting to do the permits that he is required to do? I'm wondering if this has any impact on what is going on with our particular board. Many criticisms have been expressed towards the board and towards the Resources Agency. And true, there were some problems there. But I have seen the board act responsibly and replaced Mr. Mull with someone who is competent and I'm sure will change the attitude and the customer service in that department. And I think we should give him a chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beck. Our next speaker is Mr. Darker, followed by Mr. Alexander. Very good, sir. Thank you. Mr. Alexander, followed by Mr. Heavric. Oh, he went, all right, R7, so we'll do that. I'm sorry, Heavrick.
That's a D.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Do you want me to speak?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you for taking this opportunity to listen to me as a concerned citizen. I'm also, as a taxpayer, I'm getting on board with the Integrity Project. I've lived up here about 8 years. I live out in Palo Cedro. My wife works as a dental hygienist out there. I'm a commercial driver of my own business. I've been seeing over the years the lack of supervisors. I'm not going to say integrity, but I'm going to say things need to be done better. The fact that we're having all these lawsuits, I'm basically reiterating what everybody else has talked about here. That's ridiculous. No county should have all these lawsuits going against it. I also am a staunch conservative, and I also know people up here, we tend to voice our opinion even amongst city councils, sheriffs, law enforcement. I mean, there's been some battles up here. But it's time to come together and start working together. And we need to quit wasting taxpayer dollars. That's number one. Number two is voters can vote, and they're getting on board. I mean, they're getting on board with what's going on in our government. You can see this nationally, you can see this statewide, and you can see this countywide. We got to work together. You can't keep battling. You can't keep wasting taxpayers' dollars. And I understand the one lady here had her concerns, but it also comes from the other side. And the majority of the opinion I'm hearing at this board of meetings is people are not happy. So I'm just putting my input. You guys need to work together, and you need to start listening, and you need to get rid of these lawsuits. You're wasting our money. It's ridiculous. We need to start getting things done and saving money. And I appreciate what you guys are doing, but it needs to be done a little bit better. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Peter Scales, followed by Patricia Heinso Heinsoheinsohn, okay. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks, Larry and Les, for meeting with us the other day. Les at least had the fortitude to tell me he really doesn't like me. Les, that's okay, mate. I really and truly don't mind. I got too many things going on in my life to give a damn about who likes me and who doesn't. For example, let's face what's going on in this country. That's more important to me than how any of you people here feel about me. But listen, but I will exercise my right, mate, in the upcoming elections to see if we can, get someone else sitting in your seat there. No offence meant. I'm man enough to admit that if I thought you were doing a really good job, I couldn't give a damn whether you hated my guts or not. But listen, I did check out on the internet while I was looking for bankruptcies, and I recommend everybody in the room do this. You punch in Shasta County bankruptcies, punch in Les's name, and here's this wonderful article by a guy by the name of Charles Street, and it's headed, the Al Gore of the West, Glenn Horse. And it gives the best scenario that I have seen anywhere on the explanation of what's happening with Reverge El Salmo. So for anybody that's heard all these rumours, punch it in. Charles Street, he's out of Newport down there. So there's still a couple of conservatives left in California south of us, which is promising. But and another reason I'm here is, look, this is nothing personal with anything. You know, the fights I've had with Pat Minturn. But one of my beauties is that I don't carry any malice or hate. I got too many more important things to worry about. But next Wednesday is going to be one hell of a meeting at the CSA 6 Water Board. Pam, I'd love you to be there as our representative, and I'm inviting Pat there because Pat's going to be one of the topics of conversation. And the bottom line is we're out to try and get the water taken out of Pat's hands. Pat has shown over the last 7 years that he's unfit to handle the control of the water of Shasta County, and we need a better system, whether it's an agency or whatever, and that's on the agenda for next Wednesday, and I'm asking you and Pat to be there. When we get about accountability on the CSA 6, look, you know, I'm on the board there. You know, on a normal day, it costs about $50 to check the system out. Going back 12 months ago, and I've got all these figures, you know, I don't sprout off facts and figures unless they're true. About 12 months ago, the average day was about $231 or $38 thereabouts. Now it's up to $460 odd a day. The cost of running our system is more than doubled in a month. We're way over on our budget, where the money's going to come from, but that's why you guys want to keep Pat. I'll give Pat credit. Pat's good with juggling money and taking money from us guys. And anyway, so there's a big accountability problem there. We've had a 22 to a 44% loss of water for 8 years. Al Cathy has collected over $1 million in salary, and the system has not improved except for us few that made the Elk Trail project happen. Thank you, Les. I still love you, mate. No worries.
Thank you. Ms. Jensen, followed by Mr. Swendeman. Good morning.
Good morning. Don't worry, Mr. Kia, nobody gets my name right. It's Heinsohn.
Thank you.
I just briefly wanted to get up here. I only was going to address one issue, and that's the Anselmo lawsuit. I'm sure none of us in the audience know all of the facts, but I know a fair number, and I don't know views and opinions of the Board of Supervisors. And as was previously pointed out by Sherry Beck, that you can't openly discuss things because of the Brown Act. I just want to thank those of you who are sincerely trying to settle this, because based on what I know about it, it appears that absolutely no harm has been done. He has done no harm on that property, period. And it appears that the actions of the county have been punitive against a private property owner. And it's time to move on and settle this. And I appreciate every good effort that you're putting forward to do that. I truly do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we hope to have a good report from this afternoon. But secondly, I really might regret this, but I don't appreciate, as someone who, as a concerned citizen who's taken from my time to support candidates both in action and with a teeny tiny bit of money, to support Mr. Chappelle, because he did agree with the views that I have to get him elected. I don't appreciate someone who ran against him to come up here and define integrity to me, and I am aware of the things that she did in her campaign against Mr. Chappelle. Shame, shame. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Next speaker is Mr. Swendeman. Good morning, Mr. Swendeman.
Good morning, Mr. Kehoe and everybody else. Nice to see you. I wasn't intending to say anything when I came this morning, but obviously there's opportunity and I need to clarify some issues. I think of the greater populace, I think I'm as well educated on the Anselmo issue, both sides, as anybody. But I'm not going to speak to that. I'm going to speak to an issue that I was plagued by with Russ Moll for 10 years. Now it's almost 14. No, it's almost 11 years. I'm a real estate broker. I've been here for 35 years. 2004, I had clients come to town. He is an Olympic gymnast. He and his wife wanted to build a camp for children. And so we looked for a piece of property until we found one that appeared to be appropriate. We went to the county, and Nancy Pope, who was the head of the planning department at the time, and the grand matriarch, everybody loved her, suggested we go through the pre-app application process, which we did. It's a volume of work. I did all of the work myself. It's huge. It almost rivals an actual application. All 21 agencies weighed in favor of our project. My clients came back, they bought the property as a result of that. My clients came back in 2009 to build it, $10 million worth. Had it designed by Kibler & Kibler, locally, we're going to use all local contractors, could not get to the planning department. Russ Moll hit them with a water study, even though they had already drilled their wells, they had their water. He hit them with a $40,000 water study. And they said, okay, we'll do that, but we'll do it as a condition of approval from the Planning Commission. They never got there. In 2011, they came here. It's simply a husband and wife, and they approached you. Obviously, Bill and Pam weren't here. And apologized for coming at this point because it's not his style to come in the back door, but he made his plea to you. He gave each of you a binder. Nobody responded. Everybody shut their binders and went on their way. So I called Glenn Hawes and asked him if he would go to the property. He represents that district. And he said, sure. So we went to Oak Run, went to the Oak Run store, had a burger, which I paid for. And then we went to the site, and Glenn looked around and he said, my God, this is absolutely perfect. I'm going to have to talk to my resource management guy about this. Well, of course, that guy is Glenn's hunting and fishing partner. So Glenn never calls me back. And I call him several times within a 60-day period of time. Never calls me back. Finally, I get a little message from him that says, Scott, Glenn, hey, I got to agree with Russ on this one. Bye. Hung up the phone. So my clients, totally frustrated, took their money and went down to just below San Jose and built it there. I'd like to finish if that's okay.
Why don't you summarize then, please?
Yeah, I'm almost done. So I went to see Russ Moll, and I said, Russ, what is the deal on the children's camp? They're going to be there 7 weeks out of the year in the summertime. And Russ looks at me and he goes, carbon footprint, baby. I said, carbon footprint. You can't really be going all the way down this road over that. He said, doesn't matter if I believe it or not. If you're talking about water or dirt or food or air or transportation, I own you, baby. And those are the words that this guy used. An absolute insult. But I would like you to consider in your closed session that ultimately that's probably his root complaint with Anselmo. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Swindeman. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the information that I have received on those wishing to speak. And that will end the public comment period, the open time. We will now go to item R2, Board Matters. Consider adopting a proclamation which designates March 2013 as Red Cross Month in Shasta County. We've invited Supervisor Modi to make this presentation.
Thank you, Chair Kehoe. A proclamation. Whereas the first American Red Cross celebrates its 132nd anniversary in 2013, and the Shasta County Board of Supervisors recognizes the American Red Cross and its essential humanitarian role in our community. And for over 100 years, the Red Cross in Shasta County has led the effort to prevent, prepare for, and respond to disasters. Compassionate people freely give their time and talent to help prevent and ease human suffering among friends, neighbors, and strangers. And Shasta County citizens made contributions to fund the cost of providing immediate relief to local families from house fires and floods, and volunteered their time to help those in need. And the Shasta area chapter and its nearly 100 volunteers provide valuable tools and education to individuals, families, workplaces, and schools. And the Shasta County Red Cross volunteers respond to local emergencies, assist military families, and train people in life-saving skills such as CPR and first aid. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Shasta County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims the month of March 2013 to be Red Cross Month in Shasta County, and encourages the citizens of Shasta County to support the Red Cross and make a difference in the humanitarian fabric of this community. Signed by Chair David A. Kehoe. I'll move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the proclamation. All further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I believe there's some members here that may want to come and speak, and then I'll
Sure.
put the presentation if you want to.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Kehoe. How are you, sir?
On top of the world. Thank you.
That's excellent.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us. I do thank you for the opportunity to receive this proclamation. Supervisor Modi, you mentioned two key things I want to point out. We are a volunteer-led organization, and we're funded by donations. We have a very difficult job. We have a federal, a state, and a county mandate to respond to emergencies. We don't receive government funding, and we're not government employees. So I want to...
How about introductions?
Oh, of course. I'm sorry. My name is Eric Kiltz. I'm an emergency services coordinator for the Red Cross. Behind me are some of the volunteers that work here in Shasta County. As you said, there's over 100 of us volunteers. And so we do thank you for this proclamation, and we are honored to serve Shasta County.
Mr. Kild, how about introducing your colleagues?
Lisa Christie.
Good.
Nancy Gear. Pat Day. Richard Yoder. Chris Berry. John Berry. Mike Moynihan.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Supervisor Modi?
Well, it's my All right, well, we're going to do without it then. I just want to add to your comments that you made. I think it's important to recognize that these are volunteers. They're really our neighbors and our friends who in our county come together to help those who are in their real time of need. So certainly we should be we're very honored and very pleased to be recognized, Red Cross. Thank you for the efforts that you do on behalf of all of our citizens here every day. And so I would encourage those who are here and those who are watching on TV that in the future, if you see a chance to support the Shasta County Red Cross, it's your opportunity to really help your neighbors, friend to friend. So thank you, Eric, for bringing your group and for being here today. Thank you all. Thanks, Leonard.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's show our appreciation to these fine folks.
Friends I know. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Last Thursday, it was my good fortune to serve as principal of the day at Pioneer High School, and I have invited Ms. Els Prigmore to make a brief presentation this morning on Principal of the Day and talk to us a little bit, Ms. Prigmore, about Pioneer High School. Welcome this morning.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be here and speak before you, and certainly all of our veterans who give us the platform or the right to be able to speak in our country. It's awesome. The Principal for a Day program was actually begun about 15 years ago by Charlie Minor. He was our county superintendent at the time. And it's to match people in the community that want to be a principal for a day. And Chairman Kehoe you spent a lot of time in my car because I oversee 5 sites. And so it's really an overview to see what's going on in our schools, because quite often, just like the classroom, it's 4 walls, and we really don't know what happens in our other areas of our community. Pioneer High School, along with the Plus High Schools, are dropout prevention programs in schools. And that's sometimes because of the breakdown of our basic unit of society, our family. Our kids get caught in that. and sometimes through no fault of their own, and sometimes through not so great decisions that they make. And oftentimes instilling hope in them is probably the largest obstacle and challenge that we have. And then the pragmatic side of us is we want them to become taxpayers and not tax burdens. And that really that cannot happen without leadership. So my job as a principal, and all of us as school leaders, or leadership in any capacity, leadership is really, in its truest definition, is helping others be successful. And for our team we serve about 350 students, juniors and seniors, who are not on track to graduate with their cohorts. We turned a corner. It's a handout that I have for you. We have spent some time with some leadership training from the Flippin Group. Yeah, that's really a name. And what we did is we looked at what their record was with Fortune 500 companies, military, government, professional sports, what they did in the private sector. And then we have been involved in some training and leadership training in the educational aspect of their company. And really it's about servant leadership. We're going to always disagree, but our constituents are our students. That's who we serve. And along with the Plus schools and Pioneer, we also have another program that's going to serve underserved youth. It's called Gateway to College. It's a dual enrollment program with Shasta College. We're the first rural area in the United States that has been awarded this support from some large funders in the Northwest. And it's really about how can you serve those with the least and the least support and least scaffolding to be able to realize what their talents and gifts are, and to be able to contribute to our wonderful community. And so I guess in a nutshell, we drove around to 5 different places on Thursday, and we invite anyone that is interested at all in Principal for a Day to please. It's every year in March, and we would look forward to everyone participating.
Thank you, Ms. Brigmore. Let me just say this. Ms. Brigmore is a dynamic, compassionate, understanding educational leader. And if you ever get an invitation to be Principal of the Day at Pioneer High School, race to the front door and say, you're here to serve. Ms. Brigmore, thank you very much.
Certainly, my pleasure.
Item R4, receive a presentation from the District Attorney's Real Estate Fraud Unit concerning its recent law enforcement activities. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members. Josh Lowry, Chief Deputy District Attorney, and with me, DA Investigator Bob Angelo. The District Attorney's Real Estate Fraud Unit was established on April 1st, 2009, and it's comprised of a full-time investigator, which is DA Investigator Angelo, and a Deputy District Attorney that handles real estate issues, among other types of fraud issues for the office. We receive referrals from the public and the realty community alike, and those referrals often lead to different types of action. You'll see from a handout, a stat sheet that was provided by Investigator Angelo, that we receive many referrals in each fiscal year, but we simply can't prosecute all those cases. It's simply beyond our jurisdiction. So some of those referrals will lead to actions maybe as de minimis as contacting the Better Business Bureau, referring people over to a civil type action, or moving all the way on the other end of the spectrum to actual criminal prosecution. And we've had successful criminal prosecutions. We work with other agencies around this state, around this country, and in fact, we recently worked with the auditor, with the assessor recorder to have a fraudulent deed voided, which was very successful as well. At this time, I'm going to let Investigator Angelo come up and speak a little bit about his efforts and what the unit has been doing over the past 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lowry.
Morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you. As you can see on the handout, when we first started the unit in 2009, the first year we ended up having 36 referrals, and this led to 5 prosecutions convictions by the District Attorney's Office. We were also in contact with the Department of Justice, referred one case to them, which was prosecuted by them and got a conviction. We've also been in contact with the real estate, Department of Real Estate in California, who monitors all your real estate agents and brokers. We've had multiple cases involving agents who resulted in these licenses being suspended by the Department of Real Estate. We've also been in contact with outside agencies such as Florida's Department of Justice and referred cases to them since the jurisdiction here, no way we could afford doing the prosecution here. These cases have been accepted by them as well as prosecuted, and our victims have been restituted their monies they've given out. The next year, we went up to 88 referrals. Following year, up to 103 referrals. This year, with 3 months left, we're already up to 60 referrals. I did this report on Thursday, and as of today, we're up to 70 referrals. We've belong to a Yahoo website, a Google group. What we do is anytime we have a problem, we get on the site, who's monitored by deputy district attorneys in California as well as real estate fraud investigators. We put our heads together and come up with possible solutions and able to marry cases together and prosecute cases involving multiple jurisdictions. Our biggest, right now, biggest problem is in foreclosure fraud. Right now, we have multiple attorneys, businesses, people in Southern California who review the foreclosure default notices and find out who's up here getting their house foreclosed on. They send out flyers to these people up here who are trying to figure ways to save their homes, and they promise to make all these promises, and they do is they take an advance payment of $3,500 or more to help these people and do nothing. We actually investigate these, and we do prosecute these people. We had an attorney in San Diego who was also a broker with the Department of Real Estate. He found 6 residents up in Shasta County to prey on. Every one of them sent him $3,500, did nothing for them. We sent the deputy district attorney agreed to prosecute this case. We sent a letter to Mr. Attorney and asked him to come up to the Shasta County Jail, book himself in jail, and we'll do the process with him on the courts. He failed to show in 30 days, so what we did, we sent out a warrant for his arrest. A few weeks after that, we got a call from the Department of Homeland Security. He was arrested at San Francisco Airport on his way to Egypt. He was booked into jail. We prosecuted the case. He agreed to make restitution. No longer can do loan modification fraud. We also sent a report to the state bar. He no longer has a license. We also sent it to Department of Real Estate. They're in the process of revoking his broker's license. We used to receive calls all the way from somebody saying, can we smoke in an apartment complex? Are there any ordinances? All the way up to a diversion of $1.5 million in construction funds. Like I said, this year we're already up to 60, and right now we have 11 cases going to be prosecuted by the Shasta County. Also, multiple agencies in California are also going to prosecute people, and right now we have 15 investigations that are still active. Thank you.
Gentlemen, if someone watching or here in the audience today, watching on television, has a difficulty, how do they get a hold of your office?
They can come down to the office at any time. I'll be more than happy to talk to them. They can call us at 245-6350, and I will set an appointment for them to come on down. And anything concerning real estate fraud, I'll be more than happy to help them and maybe guide them in the correct direction.
Thank you, Mr. Angelo. Thank you, Mr. Lowry. Any concluding remarks?
No, thank you very much for the time today.
We appreciate you being here. Thank you, gentlemen. Item R5 under presentations. Receive a report from the Shasta County Economic Development Corporation by President Mark Lascelles. Mr. Lascelles, pleasure to see you this morning, sir.
It's a pleasure for me to be here. Thank you. And I want to just say one thing. I'm stepping outside of my role as EDC, and I'm just speaking as a citizen of this community. I want to thank you for your dignified response to your public hearing this morning.
Thank you.
With that, I'm Mark Lascelles. I represent the EDC, and I'm here to give my annual report, the EDC being the Economic Development Corporation of Shasta County. Can you hear me from there? I just back from the microphone. And I do apologize. This was supposed to be a PowerPoint presentation, And unfortunately, my technology did not link up with your technology, so we're going with no technology. And as I'm also somewhat paper challenged, we'll see how we do this morning. Okay, first part, I want to just give you a quick report nationally on what's going on we represent the manufacturing sector, manufacturing and technology, and this is just a very quick report of what's going on nationally. Things are still somewhat slow. I just came back from a meeting on the East Coast, meeting with site selectors, meeting with Fortune 500 real estate executives, and things are still slow in terms of expansion. There's a lot of work going on in refitting. They're still unloading surplus properties, so we don't expect to see a lot of expansion coming in for another 2 or 3 years yet nationally across the country as we kind of watch the national economy turning around. California, unfortunately, is still plagued by business regulation, high state taxes, volatility of state government, union issues, and unfortunately, we're currently ranked 18th as a state to do business. As the 8th largest economy in the world, as the 9th largest population in the world of the Western world, that's a pretty sad state to have our state in, with those kind of resources, and we're ranked 18th as a place to do business. On top of that, we're also outplayed currently by a lot of other states in terms of investing in business to come to their state. So that's the world that we're dealing with as we go outside of the state to try and attract business to this area. And it's going to unfortunately be that way for some time. However, regarding the state of California, things are a little bit better. The state of California actually created more jobs last year than any other state internally. As the largest population, they should be fairly well expected to do that. 3 areas of job growth. One was in technology, mainly about Silicon Valley, San Francisco, and LA. Second one was in green energy in the southern part of the state, where the state has been putting a lot of push in this direction. And the last part in logistics. Currently, most of our manufacturing is done offshore, and the ports are the access point, and 40% of containers still come through California, so we're seeing a lot of development going on around the port areas. You've probably seen the new Amazon sites going in. These have been going in down around Patterson, around Tracy, within 40 minutes of the port. Years ago, we were one of those areas that logistically represented the West Coast. Today, they're moving near the port. However, on top of that, we're still the #1 state for venture capital, #1 in startups, and home of 53 of the Fortune 500 companies. Now I move to the good news. If I can just get this to sit still. And that's Shasta County. We are definitely turning the corner. Things are changing, things are coming back. We're creating jobs, people are going back to work, and this last year we had almost a 14% increase in manufacturing jobs. That's huge. Manufacturing is the highest multiplier and output jobs available. So for every one of those jobs, depending on the type of manufacturing, you're seeing between 2 and 4 additional jobs being created in other sectors of the economy. The output per job can be 4 or 5 times some of the other type jobs created. So this is going to have an effect on our Shasta County economy. The Redding Metro, for example, was one of the top 5 cities in California, as ranked by the Milken Institute, and they're performing cities of 212, which bodes well for the area. Unfortunately, they don't measure counties, just cities. Manufacturing space is filling. When I started, we had 7 Class A space manufacturing sites available. Today, we have 1 empty site and 2 half empty. So we're rapidly filling our manufacturing side. It'll be very soon, hopefully, we'll start seeing some construction coming back due to a need for more sites. Equipment, manufacturing, or machinery, people are filling the space. Money's being spent, people are going back to work. And most of this has come from expansion of our local companies. This is an example of just this past year, some of the companies we've been working with and what's been going on in the area. McClellan Water moved here 4 months ago, hiring 20 people, taking half the KMS building. Right now, they have someone looking at the other half of the building. 3M, which is actually in your area, we know of, we're working with right now, and that's going to be a little while before they get started, but they're moving through the process with the county. Vision Care moved to a new facility. It was a facility that sat vacant for 10 years. They've moved in, trebled the size of their space, They have some large number of exports coming from offshore and hiring people with it. Innerspace moved to a new location in the county. They actually became part of the, moved out to the county. The county helped us in that move, did a very good job. The resource manager did a good job of helping us in that move when 2 or 3 issues came up. They hired people, put a new product online, and are doing extremely well. Technosoil, another company that didn't exist 2 years ago, is up to 30 people, moved to a new location this last year. Southern Aluminum Finishing, excuse me. You can see where my mind is this morning. The Southern Aluminum Finishing came to town 8 years ago with the idea of moving into Stillwater, went on a hold for a period of time, and have now moved into a new facility and have got that up and running, hiring an additional 30 people. Shasta Renewable Resources Energy Plant in the county, fired up this last year, 18 new jobs created. Hill Group, an interesting one. This was a little helicopter company we recruited to one of our incubation spaces. They are now at a point where they're getting ready to move out of that probably in the next 6 months and hire more people. They've got a lot of orders coming in offshore. And the final one, Accent, a little company we've just recruited from Silicon Valley, came up here 3 weeks ago. We're working with them. They also moved into an incubation space. We anticipated they would be there for a year. They say with their growth, they're probably going to be out of there in 3 years. 7 new people at the beginning. They look to have probably 30 people within 3 months. So a lot of stuff going on, a lot of expansion going on with our existing companies. Enterprise zone retention, good news on the enterprise zones. We are in the governor's budget this year. Last year we were not. There will possibly be some changes. There's quite a bit of negotiation going on as we speak. And on top of that, we hopefully today will be submitting the package to the state regarding expansion into the eastern part of the county. Chris went around yesterday, got all the signatures, and I think we have them all complete now, and finally we can submit that to the state. On the voucher side, we did a little over 2,000 vouchers last year. We never know what the real value of this to the area, because most of that sits in CFO's offices for companies. We don't know how many get exercised. But conservatively, looking at $7,500 per year per voucher, even if we take 50% of those being exercised, it's a great deal of money that stays in this county and does not go down to Sacramento. So it's something we work hard on retaining. Retention, we worked with 196 companies last year. Just 1 or 2 as an example, IASCO Flight Training came to us in February and said we're going to be sold and we'll probably be moving out of the area, either to the East Coast or to Arizona, which is where most of the flight training schools are. We got together, put together a group of investors locally that went in and purchased it, kept it here. That's 53 jobs that stayed in this area, and it's a very important part of keeping our airport alive and going. Mobile Designs, another company that was moving to a new location, was having some issues over some of their costs and things on that end of it. We helped them through the process. They got there, hired an additional 20 people when they got there. Innerspace, I've mentioned. We're now doing a manufacturer survey of our existing companies. So far, it appears about 60 or 70% of them hired people last year and intend to hire again this coming year. The final one to report on is our entrepreneurial startup development. Excuse me here. My apologies. This was something we started last summer. We did 2 presentations to the community. The objective is to build an entrepreneurial ecosystem in our region to create successful manufacturing and technology startups. This is going back to our own resources. I talk about the country and trying to attract to California. It's going to be a real uphill battle to do that for a long time. But within our own area, we've got a whole new group of people that are coming in, bringing technology, bringing resources to rebuild our own economy from within. Our job, which we've started this year, is to start putting technology around them. I just returned from Greenville, South Carolina last week, which is where we bought the speaker from last year. 7 years ago, they had 8 startup companies. Today, they're managing 96. Each one of these companies compounds every year by hiring 3 people the first year, 8 the second, 15 the third. You can imagine the effect of growth of that within the economy. That is something that we can do here, and it's something we're already starting to do here, as I'm going to show you. We have an angel fund group in place. 20 people that are committed to this. They're putting down a substantial amount of money each in investing in these young companies starting, and these are 20 of our major investors in the community coming together to form a fund to help these companies get started and keep them in Shasta County. Previously, they would get started here and be taken out to Silicon Valley or elsewhere to do their projects. The second one, we have a curriculum being developed to target companies, 8 to 12 companies that had some real growth opportunity, putting mentors in there to help them through that growth process. We've actually put 3 CEOs in companies locally. These are companies that are in that first phase, that started manufacturing, started exporting offshore, needed help in that process. We put CEOs into those companies to help them grow. And in most cases, they've grown from 5 or 6 employees between 30 and 50 to help them through that process. We've started 2 accelerator centers, which both have companies in them right now. We're doing a little Bear and Bites mixer where we bring all our entrepreneurs together in town. These are people that are interested in investing. These are people that have ideas. These are people that have markets and thoughts. Bring them all together. At our last mixer, we had 100 people signed up to come to it. There's a huge swell of energy that's coming out, and this is something that we can manage, that we can control, that we can build into our economy. With that, we've identified 23 startups in the last 2 years, which represents currently in excess of 200 jobs. I think it's quite easy to see that multiply by an X5 annually. And I take you to the last page. Last year, as I stood before you, you asked me to come back and demonstrate where we have some targets and demonstrate where we're doing it. Our goal from that, our current output is $0.8 billion to this economy annually. We're looking to change that to $1.6 billion over a 10-year period. To double that, which is 7% a year, I think is quite achievable. To do that, we need to create 277 primary industry jobs. The output of each of those jobs will help us meet that final goal. Does that make sense? The benefit from, and we're doing that in 2 parts. In the first 5 years, 230 jobs. The second, 320. That's what it's going to take to meet that goal. If we can do that, that will be an additional $787 million in output into this economy, an additional $27 million in indirect tax revenues generated back to you and the other cities in this area. We have exceeded that target quite comfortably this year, and I think we're on good target to continue to do that going forward. That concludes my presentation, unless you have any questions this morning.
Well, let's see if we do. Board members, any questions or observations for Mr. Lascelles?
Thank you, Mark, very much for the presentation. I appreciate it, and I really appreciate your efforts to get the enterprise zones established in eastern Shasta County, and let's hope that the governor's budget keeps them in there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Let me say this, Mr. Lascelles. I think all of us are impressed with the enthusiasm and the excitement, and most importantly, the industry of your organization. You know, you folks aren't sitting around whining about the economy. You're getting something done. You're being proactive. And so will you convey to your staff, your board of directors, our appreciation for what you're doing? And I think most of this can be attributed to you personally, Mr. Lascelles. And I know you're going to reject that observation, but you're the spark plug, along with the chairman of the EDC, that makes things happen. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kehoe. The only comment I can make in response to that is I'm just not a very good whiner. I'm sorry. I never will be.
Thank you,
Thank
Mark. Next item on the agenda is a consent calendar. The following consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They may be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested person may request that an item be removed from the consent calendar for discussion and consideration. We have 3 items, items C, 5, and 6, that Ms. Lucero would like to address. What is the pleasure of the board concerning the disposition of the remainder of the consent calendar? Didn't I say C5, 6, and 7?
No.
Thank you.
Move approval and balance of consent.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Could I ask that we take a short break before we start these 3 items?
Sure.
Thank you.
Very good. We will take a 10-minute break and then reconvene. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.